Iber sat on her small bed in Makurdi, the journal resting heavy in her lap. The faded pages smelled of her sister's perfume, now mixed with the dust of lost dreams. Her fingers trembled as she turned each page, reading Erhi's words. The excitement of being in the city, the promises Akpe made, the whispers of a future as a star. But the entries darkened as she read on. They promised fame, but asked for too much. I want to come home, but I feel trapped. And then the chilling line. If I disappear, know that I tried to fight. Erber's breath caught in her throat. Her heart pounded so loudly, it drowned out the world. The anger inside her boiled, but beneath it was a sharp, stabbing pain. Her sister had been hunted like prey, her dreams twisted into a trap. The weight of the truth settled on Erbo's chest like a stone. She could not let this stand. She wiped her tears, her resolve hardening. If they thought Erhi's story ended here, they were wrong. It was time to step into the fire, not as Erhi's shadow, but as her voice. Orwecho sat with Erber the next day, his face weary and lined with secrets. They met in a quiet corner of the cafe, the smell of roasted groundnuts wafting through the air. Erber clenched the journal tightly, her voice shaking. "Tell me everything, Orwecho. How did you find my sister?" Orwecho sighed, his voice barely a whisper. "It was a night like any other. A friend called me, a cleaner at a club in Wadatar. He said a girl had collapsed in the back room. I rushed there, and when I saw her face, it was like I had seen a ghost. She was barely breathing. Erba. Her lips were blue, her hands cold. I tried to help her, but she just kept whispering, 'Tell my sister, I'm sorry.' I didn't know what she meant." His eyes brimmed with tears. Erber's throat tightened. "You tried to save her?" "I did. I swear. But by the time I tried calling for help, she made me stop." He paused, his voice firm now. "She told me how to find you. So I sent the letter before it would be too late to say your goodbyes." Erhi's eyes filled with tears as she told Orwecho that she will make those who killed her sister pay for their crime. Orwecho replied, "I am with you all the way. I too will not let her story die, Erber. I know there's something bigger here. I have been watching as an undercover agent for the Drug Law Agency, and I've seen Akpe's face too many times in places he doesn't belong. And now, it's time we act." One evening, Erber dressed carefully, choosing a dress that sparkled under the club lights. Her heart thumped in her chest, but her face wore a mask of calm. Orwecho handed her a small earpiece, his voice low. "I'll be outside. If you feel unsafe, say river flow, and I'll come in." Erber nodded, her breath steady but her palms sweaty. The club was loud, pulsing with music and shadows. Akpe sat at a table, his gold chain glinting, a glass of whiskey in hand. His eyes lit up when he saw Erber. "Ah, star," he grinned, his voice slick as oil. "Come, sit with me." Erber swallowed her fear and sat, her smile easy, her voice light. They talked, and as the drinks flowed, Akpe leaned closer, his words laced with promises. "You remind me of someone, an old flame perhaps, but no matter. You're here now, and you have the fire I need." Erber's stomach churned, but she nodded, playing the part. Beneath the table, her fingers clenched into fists. She was walking the path Erhi had walked, but this time, She was watching, listening, waiting for the right moment to strike. Late that night, as the club emptied out, Erber lingered by the bar listening. The girls chatted in low voices, their words heavy with secrets. One girl, Titi, spoke softly, her eyes darting around. That one, Big T, he's the real boss. Akpea's just his messenger. He's the one who makes the girls obey. Erber's heart raced. She leaned closer, pretending to check her phone, her ears straining. Another girl, Ngorzi, sighed, her voice brittle. Remember Erhi? She was strong, refused to let them touch her. They warned her, but she fought back. And then they gave her something, a drink. After that night, she was gone. Erber's breath hitched. She wanted to scream, to demand answers, but she forced herself to stay calm. Her hands trembled as she gripped her glass. So it was true. Erhi had been drugged, silenced because she dared to resist. Erber felt her sister's pain like a wound in her own chest. She left the club that night with fire in her veins. The story was no longer just whispers. The truth was unfolding, and soon, the world would hear it loud and clear. Erber met Orwecho the next morning, her voice low but fierce. She told him everything. Titi's whispers, Ngorzi's fear, the dark hand of Big T. Orwecho's face tightened, his jaw set. This is bigger than we thought. We must move carefully. But Erber shook her head, her voice steady. Careful won't save the next girl, Orwecho. We have to act. Now. He hesitated, then nodded slowly. You're right, but we need proof. Real evidence. And we need to be careful. You can't save the next girl if you die. Just follow my lead. Erber stared into the distance, her mind racing. I'll get it. I'll go back in. They trust me now. Akpea is watching me, but he hasn't recognized me yet. I'll gather everything. Names, locations, deals. Then we end this. Orwecho placed a steadying hand on her shoulder, his voice soft but firm. Be careful, Ebo. You're braver than anyone I know. But remember, this is a dangerous game. They killed your sister. They won't hesitate to kill again. Erber met his gaze, her voice a whisper. Then let them try. I'm ready. Erber's nights became a blur of smoky lights, pounding music, and the scent of sweat mixed with perfume. Each evening at the Wadatar Lounge, she sang, weaving her voice into the crowd's drunken haze. But behind her smile, she watched, sharp, quiet, listening for whispers the music tried to drown. Akpea had taken an interest in her, offering small gigs at other clubs, introducing her to men who wore gold watches and whispered promises laced with danger. Erber played her part well, laughing when expected, leaning in just enough, but never too far. She saw the fear in the eyes of girls like Ngorzi and Titi, and the way Akpea's hand gripped their arms a little too tight. Erber knew she was a moth flying close to a flame, but every night she told herself, for Erhi, for every girl they silenced, Orwecho, always her silent anchor, reminded her, watch, listen, don't rush. And so she stayed, learning the rhythm of the game, even as it threatened to swallow her whole. In the smoky corners of the lounge, where the music softened and the men grew careless, Erber started gathering whispers. She learned of Big T's Friday night parties, secret gatherings where deals were struck and girls disappeared. She memorized faces. The man with the scar on his chin who delivered envelopes, the one they called Jargooder who always had a briefcase chained to his wrist, and the woman named Mama C who seemed to control the girls with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. One night, TT, her voice barely a whisper, told Erba, ere he tried to leave. She said she wanted to go home. That's when they gave her the drink. The words sent a chill through Ebo's bones. The drink. What was it? She watched Akpe more closely after that. Noting the bottles he shared only with certain men, the coded handshakes, the packages exchanged. Erber wasn't just singing anymore. She was a shadow, slipping between cracks, catching pieces of the web. And every night, as she lay in bed, she pieced it together, the image of her sister's last days slowly taking shape. Erber's rise in the club was steady. Akpe started calling her my golden voice. He introduced her to men from outside Bainway, some from Lagos, others with foreign accents. They whispered of moving goods, of cargo ready for the border, and Erber's stomach churned. She knew now. Girls were the cargo. Ere he had been cargo. One night, Akpe handed her a small package. Her hands trembled as she took it. "Deliver this to Big T," he ordered. Erber's heart raced, but she nodded. This was her chance. With the package in her bag, she followed the driver to a hidden compound behind a market. The gate opened, and there he was, Big T, the man who had stolen her sister's life. He was larger than she expected, his eyes cold, his voice soft like a snake's hiss. He took the package, his gaze lingering on her. "Who sent you?" "Akpe," she answered, her voice steady. Big T nodded slowly, but Erber felt his eyes on her long after she left. That night, she sat in her room, her hands shaking, and whispered to herself, "I'm getting closer, Erhi. I'm coming for them." Weeks passed, and Erber learned the game's rules. Certain drinks meant certain things. A red glass for a girl being moved, a blue for one who had proven loyal. Money changed hands in coded words, packages, concerts, sponsors. And Big T watched her more closely now. One night, he called her into a private room, the air thick with smoke and tension. "Akpe tells me you have potential," he said, his voice low, eyes sharp. "But potential means nothing if you're weak." Erber's heart pounded in her ears, but she met his gaze. "I'm not weak," she said. Big T smiled faintly, a chilling curve of his lips. "We'll see." She left the room, her legs trembling. She knew she was in deeper now, too deep to turn back. But she also knew she had to push further, even if it burned her. One night, after her performance, Erber sat outside with Ngorzi. The girl's voice trembled as she whispered, "Erhi, she was different from the rest of us. She fought. She said no. That's why they drugged her. That's why she's gone." Erber's heart clenched, tears burning behind her eyes. She pressed Ngorzi's hand. "Thank you. One day, we'll make them pay." Later, in a hidden alley, Erber met Orwecho. She handed him a small notebook, her careful notes, names, times, coded signals. Orwecho's hands trembled as he took it. This is enough to shake them," he whispered. Erber looked at him, her voice fierce but soft. "Not yet. I need more. I want to see Big T fall with my own eyes." Orwecho nodded, his voice thick with emotion. You're brave, Erba. Too brave. Erba smiled faintly, her face bathed in the moonlight. For Erhi, I'll be whatever I have to be. The nights grew darker, and the whispers grew louder. Erber felt the weight of every lie she told, every smile she faked. Akpe had started inviting her to private gatherings, smaller, more dangerous circles where men sat in back rooms counting money, passing small bags, and marking names in ledgers. The air reeked of sweat, cheap cologne, and something darker, fear. One night, as she refilled a drink for a man called Chief Order, she overheard him say, "Big T has a new deal. Fresh girls, 2 from another community called Otukpar, crossing the river by dawn." Erber's hand trembled, the tray almost slipping from her grip. She forced herself to smile, to nod, to walk away calmly. But inside, her heart was breaking. More girls, just like Erhi, about to be swallowed whole. That night, she sat in her small room, clutching her sister's necklace, whispering, "Hold on, my girls, hold on. I'm coming." Orwecho's face was pale when Erber handed him the new names and details. "This is bigger than we thought," he said, his voice low. "They're moving fast, Erber. We have to act soon." But Erber shook her head, her eyes sharp. "Not yet. I need Big T's confession. I want to see his face when the law finally catches him." Orwecho hesitated, then nodded. "All right, but be careful. There's talk. Akpe is getting suspicious. He's been asking questions about you." Erber swallowed hard. She had felt Akpe's gaze lingering longer, his smiles colder. She knew she was dancing on a thin edge, but she couldn't stop now. Not when she was so close. "Let him suspect," she whispered. "Let him think he's winning. I'll bring them all down, Orwecho. Every last one of them. Just make sure your people are ready to sweep in when it is time." Orwecho nodded. The next night, Erber was summoned to a private suite, Big T's suite. Her heart raced as she stepped inside, the air thick with cigar smoke and power. Big T sat in a leather chair, his eyes cold as stone. Akpe stood beside him, arms folded, his gaze heavy. "Star," Big T said slowly. "Akpe tells me you're special. But special girls, they come with risk." Erber forced a smile, her voice steady. "I'm loyal. I do what I'm told." Big T leaned forward, his eyes boring into hers. "Loyalty is tested, girl. There's a job tomorrow. A party. You'll sing, and then you'll serve." His words sent ice down her spine. "You understand?" Erber nodded slowly, her breath caught in her throat. "Yes, Big T." But inside, the fire was burning hotter than ever. Tomorrow, she thought. Tomorrow, it ends. That night, Erber found Titi sitting alone, her eyes distant. Gently, Erber asked, "Titi, what exactly did they do to that girl Erhi?" Titi hesitated, her voice barely a whisper. She said no to Big T. She wanted to leave. They told her she had no choice, but she resisted them all. They drugged her, Erber. I saw it. She fought, but they forced it down her throat. After that night, she never woke up. Erber's tears flowed silently as she squeezed Titi's hand. "Thank you for telling me. I promise you, this will end soon." Later, she met Orwecho in a hidden alley. "Tomorrow is the party," she told him. "That's when we strike." Get Naptip. Get NDLEA. We bring them down or Weicho. For Erhi. For all of them. Or Weicho's eyes burned with purpose. We're ready, Erber. Be careful. Erbo lay awake in her small room, staring at the ceiling, the weight of the coming day pressing down on her chest. She thought of Erhi, her laughter, her dreams, her light. She thought of Mama, sitting alone in Otukpo, unaware of the storm her daughter was about to unleash. She whispered into the dark, "Sister, I will not fail you." Outside, the city pulsed, unaware of the battle brewing in its heart. Erber closed her eyes, holding Erhi's necklace tightly. Tomorrow, she would walk into the lion's den one last time. Tomorrow, she would face the monsters head-on. Tomorrow, the world would know the story of Erhi, and the girl who refused to be broken. The air inside the club was heavy, the lights dimmed low, and the music throbbed like a heartbeat. Erber stood on the small stage, microphone in hand, her voice steady but her palms clammy with fear. The room was packed. Big T's men lined the walls, Akpe hovered near the bar, and the girls sat quietly, their faces tense, as if they could feel that something was about to change. Erber began to sing, her voice soft at first, a lullaby that wrapped around the room. But beneath the melody was fire, each note a blade aimed at the hearts of the men who had stolen so much. She caught Akpe's eye. His smile was thin, suspicious. Big T sat back in his chair, watching her like a lion eyeing prey. Erber's gaze swept the room, pausing for a moment on Titi and Gorzi. They nodded subtly, the smallest flicker of hope in their eyes. Erber sang for Erhi, for every girl trapped in this nightmare, for the home she missed, and the sister she would never see again. And as the final note hung in the air, she whispered into the microphone, bowing slightly as the crowd clapped, though the applause felt thin, laced with confusion and suspicion. She quickly said, "It is a song I wrote many years ago. Just memories." Big T relaxed, so does everyone. Backstage, TT grabbed her arm, her voice urgent. "They know something's up. Akpe has been asking questions about you." Erber swallowed hard, her mouth dry. She whispered, "It's almost over. Just a little longer." Outside, Orwecho crouched in the shadows, watching the entrance. His phone buzzed, a coded message from the NDLEA. They were ready, and tomorrow night, they will be in position and waiting for his signal. Orwecho's heart pounded. He knew the plan was dangerous, that Erber was walking on a razor's edge. But he also knew she was their only chance. He gripped his phone tighter, whispering a silent prayer to God. After the performance, Akpe summoned Erber to a private room. The door clicked shut behind her, and the air felt heavy, suffocating. Akpe's smile was gone, replaced by a cold stare. "Who are you really?" he asked, his voice low and dangerous. Erber's breath hitched, but she held his gaze, forcing a nervous laugh. "Just a girl who wants to sing, sir." Akpe's eyes narrowed. "You look like someone. Someone I knew, someone who crossed us." He stepped closer, and Erber could smell the alcohol on his breath, feel the heat of his suspicion. Panic clawed at her chest, but she kept her face steady, her voice soft. "I'm no one, Akpe. Just a singer." He stared at her for a long moment, then grunted, turning away. "Be ready for tomorrow's party. Big T wants you." Ebo's stomach twisted, but she nodded, backing out of the room as fast as she could. Outside, her hands trembled. She found TT in the hallway, whispered urgently, "Stay strong. Tomorrow, it ends." And as she walked away, she could feel the weight of the moment pressing down. This was the storm before the final blow. Late that night, Erber sat in her tiny room, staring at the worn pages of Ahi's journal once more. The words blurred through her tears, but one line leapt out at her. "He made me drink it. I felt the world spin. I tried to fight, but I couldn't." Erber traced the words with trembling fingers, her heart breaking all over again. She remembered Titi's words, the whispers from the other girls, the coded signals, the drink. That was how they broke the girls, how they silenced Erhi. Erber closed the journal, her resolve hardening. Tomorrow, she would wear her sister's necklace, hold her head high, and face the devils head-on. Orwecho's message came in just before dawn. "We move at midnight. Be ready." Erber breathed deeply, clutching the necklace to her chest. "I'm ready," she whispered. "For Erhi, for all of them." The club pulsed with energy that night. Big T sat in his usual spot, surrounded by his men, his eyes cold and calculating. Erber sang, her voice trembling but strong, her heart pounding in her chest. After her song, Big T called her over. She approached slowly, her breath shallow, her mind screaming warnings. "Sit," he ordered, and she obeyed. He studied her, a smirk curling his lips. "You remind me of someone. Erhi, they called her. Pretty girl, too stubborn for her own good. Shame what happened to her." Erber's breath caught, but she forced a smile, her voice soft. "I'm not her." Big T chuckled darkly. "No, you're not, but you'll learn," as he reached for her. And in that moment, she felt something might go wrong. Then she said the code word river flow. The door burst open. NDLEA agents stormed in, guns raised, shouts filling the room. Akpay lunged for the exit, but Orwecho tackled him to the ground. Big T roared, reaching for a hidden pistol, but Erber, heart racing, flipped the table, sending drinks and papers flying. Chaos erupted. The storm had come, and in the middle of it all, Erber stood tall, the fire of her sister's memory burning bright in her chest. The club lay in ruins. Chairs overturned, bottles shattered, and the echoes of shouts still lingering in the air. Erber's story continues in the concluding part. The threats, the struggles, the comeback of evil, and the battles still ongoing. Stay with us to find out if she survived the storm ragging and lurking for her after bringing down the most feared kingpin in the world of trafficking.